there was a very interesting character in the beginning of the Common Era, a man by the name of Irenaeus. And Irenaeus was a Celt. He was from the area of Lyons. He was educated as a Roman, but he held on to his tradition. And he began to hear of this great mystical religion that was coming out of the Middle East, out of Palestine, of this remarkable man who saw the light in all creation. And so for Irenaeus as a Celt, it was easy to accommodate, to assimilate the teachings of Jesus as the Christ and how they were relevant. For Irenaeus, there were a couple things, 3 things to be exact, that were sort of very important, but actually put him at odds with the growing Roman church of the time, the church that had thrown its lot in with the empire. And the first was this, is Irenaeus believed in the feminine, and as a result of that, he did not advocate for celibacy, which was something that was sort of growing at the time, because he felt that to be divine was to live as naturally as we could. And that brought the second thing, that for men and women, there was no difference. They were equal footing in the face of the divine, of what they were capable of, what they could express and do. And finally, as a good Celt, he was sort of, allergic to temples and churches, the natural world, the forest, because he saw the divine in every living thing. And he had this beautiful image of light. He understood the Gospel of St. John, which is the most mystical of the Gospels, the story of light, the story of Logos, that creating force which was there at the very beginning of all things, that lives in and through and as all things. So I'm reading this book right now by this man by the name of John Philip Newell. And he writes a lot about the Celts. And he has a book called Sacred Earth, Sacred Soul. And in that book, he tells a story about when he was in Canada several years ago. And he was lecturing on the Celtic spiritual tradition. And he was lecturing a little bit on Irenaeus and all that this was. And there was a young Mohawk elder. He was actually a chieftain who had come to listen and participate in these lectures and these discussions. And John Newell tells of this story that had happened that just literally, according to the young Mohawk, when he began to speak to John Newell, this is what he said. So let's sit with that. How would the world be different if the teachings of Jesus, if the church itself had not become corrupted by empire? So where would we be in the world that we live in today if the message that was brought on Christmas in a humble town, in an occupied land, in a young unwed mother and her soon-to-be husband, in this wonderful story that is told, with all creation taking place, the animals, the angels, the skies filled with wonder, if we had kept that sense of reverence for life, where would we be in a world today? So imagine, if you would, this opportunity to use all that's going on as a portal to experience the sacredness of life, to be the presence of the sacredness of life. Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine the world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. And in doing so, how we begin to remake a new world. That the birth of the Christ is taking place in each and every one of us. And so we can all sing together, joy to the world, peace on earth, and goodwill to all living beings. Thank you.